My 12-year best friend recently called my boyfriend nuts and labeled me a magnet for creeps, after I opened up about my struggles. I supported her through her chaos, yet she belittles my relationship. Can our friendship survive this judgment? Title: Summary. A friend of 12 years is enduring a challenging period. We have supported one another through various highs and lows. However, she has recently made disparaging comments about my boyfriend, calling him psychotic and crazy, as well as labeling me crazy. Following a difficult experience of her own, she claimed that she has always criticized women who allow unhealthy men into their lives and has referred to me as a magnet for unsuitable individuals. Not only are these statements false, but they are also deeply hurtful coming from someone I consider to be the closest person in my life. While I recognize that she is grappling with her own mental health issues, I am uncertain how to address this without jeopardizing our friendship. This is quite challenging for me to articulate, so I appreciate your understanding.
For context, I became friends with D, a pseudonym for the purpose of this post, during my initial week at university abroad.
We have remained very close, sharing mutual friends and pursuing similar career paths. We have supported each other through numerous challenges, even after graduating and I relocated. We communicate via text and voice notes daily, and we joke that our conversation serves as a diary of the past 12 years. Although I am an exceedingly independent person and typically do not reach out for help or emotional support, D has been there for me during tough times without my needing to ask, making her the sole individual I feel comfortable contacting for a casual complaint. That said, D has a tendency to become anxious over trivial matters. This is a running joke among our friendship group, which she is aware of, and this can be somewhat difficult to manage. Although it is emotionally draining, I have grown accustomed to it and find it endearing. D also takes on more emotional burdens than she should by caring for those who do not prioritize her well-being, often resulting in her experiencing hurt. Additionally, she serves as a caretaker for her mother and sister, both of whom face mental health challenges that adversely affect her. I, too, often find myself in situations where I overcommit to helping others, frequently prioritizing their needs over my own. Several years ago, I went through a tough marriage and subsequent divorce. During that time, Dee patiently listened and supported me as I navigated the ups and downs. She offered more support than my family did at home. I could not have endured that period without her, and I am immensely grateful to her for that. In the past 2 years, I have been involved in a relationship filled with numerous highs and lows and breakups. I will refer to him as N for the purpose of this post. I realize that it is not the healthiest of relationships. However, aside from my love and care for him, there are logical reasons for my decision to continue it. I live at home. In my country, all unmarried individuals reside with their parents, and it is considered extremely taboo not to, with a challenging mother and family who fundamentally do not comprehend me. I also do not feel understood by my friends in my home country. While I have always been an introvert who enjoys my own company, I am experiencing profound feelings of loneliness for the first time in my life. I am very successful in my career, which allows me to achieve well at work but also exposes me to toxic office politics. And entered my life shortly after my divorce. Although he is not the ideal match for me, he has become my only source of comfort in my home country. He is the only person here with whom I can truly be myself. He is non-judgmental, and we share similar daily interests. However, our conflicts have been toxic primarily due to his insecurities and anger issues. He has struggled with work and the misogynistic expectations of his parents, which have taken a toll on his mental health. After my urging, he is currently in therapy and working on improving his mental health. We have endured numerous toxic breakups, and I despise being caught in this cycle. Nevertheless, I recognize that he is maturing as an individual, and for now, we have provided comfort for one another. As someone who rarely admits to needing anything, I have come to accept that I require his presence in my life. I do not have a plan for the future of this relationship, but currently, I am focusing on being kind to myself. I am battling significant challenges related to my mental health, career, and family, and I do not have the emotional bandwidth to manage this situation as well. In the past year, Dee has also faced significant emotional struggles, and I have supported her through them. The reality is that she has put herself in absurd situations and reacted in ways that may be considered abnormal from a mental health standpoint. There were many things she did not discuss with her husband, instead opting to talk to me. While I am happy to be there for her, it has been emotionally exhausting. For instance, despite being in a different time zone, I have made her a favorite contact so I can answer her calls at any time of the night. She has awakened me on numerous occasions to listen to her lengthy rants. When I offer advice, she is often unreceptive, so I have learned to accept my suggestions being dismissed without expressing judgment or saying I told you so when she wishes to revisit the same situation repeatedly. One specific issue involved an emotional attachment she developed with a man who is not her husband. Despite it all, I have been understanding of her feelings and have tried to help her detach from him, recognizing the difficulty it poses. I also understand that the intensity of her attachment and her coping mechanisms likely relate to her underlying mental health challenges. While dealing with this situation, she repeatedly made a comment that genuinely hurt me. She stated, "I have always attracted good men into my life and have had healthy relationships. I always judged women who got involved with unhealthy men, believing they were foolish and weak for remaining in those dramatic relationships." She mentioned this 3 times, and I chose to ignore it. On the 4th instance, I finally interrupted her and told her to stop deluding herself, emphasizing that she should feel fortunate to have her husband in her life before shifting the topic. However, I was genuinely hurt and ceased discussing my relationship with her for some time afterward. It is challenging for me to confide in people, and I disliked feeling judged by the one person I had chosen to open up to. To complicate matters further, she began making additional remarks. For instance, when a random professional acquaintance reached out to me to request a coffee meeting, I felt uncomfortable and vented to Dee about it. Her response was, "You attract so many unsuitable men, I've only dealt with one of them. For you, they are a permanent fixture in your life, ha ha ha." I found this comment truly unkind. Internally, I wanted to counter with, "I constantly attract male attention, but I chose not to. The fact is, I am an objectively attractive woman who is contended with the drawbacks of excessive male attention, from persistent catcalling to uninvited advances, and I am required to set firm boundaries with men in my professional field." Her reaction to my innocent complaint bothered me greatly. "I do not attract unsuitable men, I draw various types of men into my life. I endured one terrible marriage, and I do not appreciate being judged for it. My current relationship has its challenges, but my partner is far from unsuitable. He is a decent man who has flaws, just as I do." Honestly, I felt her comments reflected more on her state of mind than on me, leading me to overlook her unkindness. She then proceeded to share a story about a friend who was being ghosted by a man who misled her and compared it to her emotional attachment situationship with the other individual. She added that her other friend is incredibly strong for not pursuing the man giving her mixed signals and is smart enough to maintain her standards, but "Oh, I did not mean to refer to you in N, it just came to mind." I was furious. I told her, "I know it does not involve me in N because, despite his flaws, he has always been consistent with me and never wavered in his commitment." Our relationship developed gradually, and at every stage, he openly communicated his feelings, letting me know he was open to a slower or faster pace based on my comfort level. He consistently demonstrated commitment, while I was often the more avoidant one. Her only response was, "At least there's that." In recent weeks, I've faced an overwhelming workload and lengthy hours of commitment, compounded by my mother's difficult behavior and my discomfort at home. Dee is aware that N serves as my refuge amidst this turmoil. He allows me to be myself and supports me when I am in need. Additionally, Dee has been experiencing a downward spiral, and I have been there for her, which has intensified my emotional exhaustion, although I have never expressed this to her, as I want to be supportive of her. Yet, she continues to make comments about N being irrational and psychotic and insists that I am too good for him. I find these remarks unwarranted and thoughtless. She knows I love him, and there must be a more compassionate way for her to voice her concerns. While I acknowledge the relationship does carry concerns due to his insecurities and temper, he has never come close to exhibiting violence or making me feel unsafe. 2 days ago, I sent her a voice note expressing how enjoyable my evening had been for the first time in a while. I took a break from work and spent it with N. N has been addressing challenges with his parents, and I was sharing how maturely he is handling everything. We also discussed our relationship, and I communicated how such conversations have helped us grow closer and made me feel secure. I later messaged her, explaining that I was struggling with work and that he represented my only safe space. In the voice note, I relayed that he had mentioned something like, "I have made mistakes in the past by saying things I should not have due to my own ignorance, but I am working on it. While I might be foolish at times, I will never intentionally hurt you or jeopardize the bond we are building together, which means everything to me." She sent a series of angry messages calling me foolish and idiotic, stating, "I should thank him for telling me he will mess up again in the future. I am fully aware he is working on himself, but I refuse to be naive enough to think he will never err again. What matters to me is his accountability, his good intentions, and his commitment to improvement." She continued sending more furious messages declaring, "He is insane. You are insane." She reiterated descriptors like crazy, irrational, and accused me of being foolish, ultimately adding, "I know what needs to be done." She concluded with, "This is insane. God help you both." Since then, I have been unable to speak with her. She has continued to send me pictures of her vacation with her husband, as well as content regarding International Women's Day in a casual manner. I cannot bring myself to reply. I am profoundly hurt. First, I do not believe it is fair for her to label someone I care deeply for as irrational or crazy, or any of her other terms. Even if she has concerns, there are certainly more empathetic ways to express them. Second, just the day before, I listened to her rant about her husband's anger and mood issues. I consistently offer her patience and thoughtful advice. I have never described her husband negatively, nor have I criticized her own mental health struggles, even though many might superficially describe her emotional affair and other behavior as irrational. Third, during a time when I was discussing my own significant challenges, I cannot help but feel that she could have chosen to hold off on expressing her concerns and address them later. Lastly, I feel a pervasive sense of judgment and pretentiousness underlying her discussions with me. I feel excessively judged by the only person I have opened myself up to the most. She is the sole individual with whom I discuss my relationship and mental health. Although she boasts a wonderful husband and impressive career success, I do not believe that grants her the right to assert herself over others, especially not over me as her friend. If you have read this far, thank you. I would greatly appreciate any advice on how to navigate this situation. I am contemplating whether to confront her or to let it slide for the sake of our friendship. I worry that I will not be able to confront her without saying something she might take as a personal attack, which could irreparably damage our friendship. Story 2. After 4.5 years together, my boyfriend distanced himself after a fight. "I'm not sure if I want to be with you anymore," he said, leaving me lost and confused. He switched between cold and warm, yet I'm the only one reaching out. What's really going on? My boyfriend and I have been in a relationship since we were 16 or 17 years old, meaning we have been together for 4.5 years. We have faced a significant amount of challenges together, including being teenage caregivers, the deaths of immediate family members on both sides, family breakdowns on both sides, and our own relationship issues, among other difficulties. I have been in a very low mental state for the past few months following the death of a family member, compounded by a lack of support from many friends and family, which has severely impacted my mental health. Additionally, several past issues that my boyfriend used to exhibit, which I thought had been resolved, began resurfacing about a year ago, such as him withholding things from me because he anticipated I might get upset, not infidelity. Nonetheless, I believed that things were gradually improving and that we were building a strong relationship. A few months ago, he asked me to move in with him, claiming that his house was essentially mine, and he offered to fully support me financially since I was unable to afford it. I declined, stating I wasn't comfortable with that arrangement and that I would move in after completing my studies, which would have been very soon now. Although we had not finalized moving dates, I believed that it was still going to happen. Almost 2 months ago, we had an argument that stemmed from a misunderstanding. I had been under a lot of stress from my classes and had not considered my words when I canceled plans. He interpreted it as me pushing him away and not wanting to see him, which was not my intention. I take full responsibility for not considering his feelings and for not expressing my thoughts more clearly. However, after realizing he was upset days later, I called him to apologize and have a proper conversation. From what I recall, he just wanted to yell, so I yelled back, resulting in a heated exchange. We did not communicate for a couple of days as I reflected on the situation. Ultimately, I decided this was merely an argument and expressed my desire to be with him and resolve our issues, leading us to restart our conversations. Initially, things seemed fine. I reached out a couple of times about various matters, and he was supportive of what I was experiencing. However, even though we made plans to talk over the phone and meet several times, every instance when I suggested we talk, he agreed to meet but would not follow through on the agreed day. Perhaps I should have reminded him on those occasions, but I felt somewhat let down. On one occasion, I did reach out to him, and he admitted that he had forgotten and was doing a favor for someone, promising to call me while walking to work, but he did not. I only received a text later stating he was running late and apologized. There was also an unusual instance when he called to ask if he could use my spare keys because he had left his keys at work, which he has done multiple times before. Yet despite being pleasant for days, he acted cold towards me and rushed off. He has alternated between being distant, ignoring me, and being friendly multiple times. I confronted him early on about this, and he indicated he was unsure about what he wanted or whether he wished to remain in our relationship. I was not pleased, but I do not want to be with someone who does not want to be with me, so I wanted him to be certain. Despite never requesting space or a break or indicating that he wanted to end things, I noticed he began to ignore me increasingly. I have made every effort to communicate with him, including reaching out only when necessary, approximately once every couple of days, keeping in mind my challenging situation, offering to discuss our issues, and, after weeks of his indecision, clearly stating that if he could not make a decision, I would have to leave him regardless of his choice. He became upset by this, which I do not understand. I have tried everything I could think of, except for showing up at his home or workplace uninvited, which might humiliate me. He has revealed very little about his thoughts, I should note that he is autistic with ADHD and has difficulty expressing his feelings, other than claiming we have had significant problems for about 3 years that he did not share with me. This involves, in some way, my alleged refusal to let him assist me when I am upset, although he struggled to articulate this, so I am unsure whether that is truly the issue. Eventually, I completely stopped hearing from him. I reached out an embarrassing number of times over a 2-week period, all of which went unanswered. I tried to limit my attempts to reach him for a while, but then I overheard someone gossiping that we were no longer together. I thought perhaps they were mistaken until he changed his profile pictures on social media to exclude me. I reached out again with the simple question, "Are we done?" but received no reply. I want to highlight that, while this may seem obvious, and despite the difficult times we faced, our relationship was mostly happy. He would do countless small things for me just because and provided support through everything. I am confused because if he truly did not care, as evidenced by his actions, why not simply tell me it is over and block me? If he changed his profile picture because he no longer wants to be with me, why not delete all the old photos and posts of me from his social media? If it were indeed over, why would he not allow me to collect my belongings from his house? I am uncertain about how to proceed. We have never reached such a low point before, and I know that if anyone else had treated me this way, I would have moved on. However, it is him, and I want him in my life not out of need for a boyfriend, but because he positively influences my life and truly understands me. I am tired of feeling as though everyone else knows more about my relationship than I do. I feel that if I could simply talk to him, I could gauge his reaction and better understand our status. However, I also recognize that if I force the issue by showing up where I know he is, I may embarrass myself again. I have been trying to give him space now since our conversations have not yielded results, but I fear I may lose the opportunity to make things right. My mental health has improved significantly, and I feel better in recent weeks because I have been focusing on myself, but I still want to resolve our issues. I understand how this situation appears, and it may seem clear-cut, but I am seeking guidance on the best course of action. Should I allow him space to live his life without me and wait for him to reach out, or should I make one final significant effort to communicate and, if he does not respond, move on, as I do not think I can release this connection in this manner? In summary, we had an argument, and although he claimed during our last conversation to be uncertain about what to do, he seems to have gradually distanced himself to the point where I am unsure if we are still together. I want to be in a relationship with him, even though I am not entirely certain how we could fix our issues, and I desire to genuinely understand what he is feeling, but I am unsure of the best action to take moving forward.